Welcome to the first ever Manhattan Tech Talk being held here at the NEC New York Partner Showcase. I have three illustrious individuals with me this evening. I say illustrious, they're already smiling, so the illustrious bit must be correct. Randy Pagnan, RP Visuals, well known in the industry. Rob Badenoch from Tad Associates, and Pete Berry from Shen Milsom, and Wilke. So, welcome all. The Shen's been around for like 30 years.
Yes, we're just celebrating our 30th
Wow, that's amazing.
This year. So,
yeah. But your founder died recently this year, I think?
Yes, sadly Fred Shen passed away this year. So,
and his son is running the business now?
That's correct, yes. Tom
yeah.
Shen
What a great success story though.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 30 years.
They came from a small acoustical consulting firm, started doing acoustical consulting, and then added on AV consulting and gradually added other disciplines.
How big are they now? Give people some idea of the size.
I believe the company is around, I want to say, about 180 people worldwide. Apart from New York, we have offices throughout the US, and then the biggest offices outside that are in the Far East, primarily Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai.
Okay.
But we cover primarily North America and the Middle East. We have an office, and then the Far East.
So Tad Associates is a smaller business?
Much smaller business, yes.
How many people?
We're getting close to 30 people very soon, upgrading our offices and growing quite rapidly. Also in New York City, not too far.
Because Randy, this is your business. I can't believe though, Randy, this is the first time you've ever been to the NEC Showcase.
The first time that I've been here personally.
How is that possible?
Visuals has had product here before, and I've had staff here, but I've never been here, and I'm quite impressed.
So what persuaded you to come this year?
Rich Ventura.
Okay, well he can be quite persuasive.
Take a look at it, and I'm very pleasantly surprised, and it's quite a unique show. I'm really enjoying my first time here.
You like it? They moved to this venue 2 years ago. This is the only second time they've ever been in this venue. Before, I always get told off for saying it, especially when we're being broadcast, but hey, you know, it used to be in a hotel lobby. This is much better than a hotel lobby.
Yes.
This is, 1,000 times. You're smiling, you agree with me.
Yeah.
This is 1,000 times better.
A very nice venue.
Yeah.
So.
And how big is your company these days?
We're about 30 employees in manufacturing design. We get the pleasure of working with these two gentlemen on weird, wonderful, innovative visual display solutions. They come up with creative ideas and say, have you ever done this? And we hope we haven't, so that we can do it together, and we create mounting solutions solving for tight seams and service, and enjoy it. It's a fun world we play in today.
So you'll be coming back to New York for this event next year, I guess, now you've seen the showcase. Have you been to the showcase before?
I have, yes.
You have, many times?
Many times. I've lost track, but probably not more than 5 or 6.
You started when you were 10 and you just...
Not that young, but yeah.
What have you seen that looks really good today?
Well, generally speaking, I enjoy seeing the drastically higher resolutions, and I see trends that are really started in the consumer electronics industry. The experiences we all have using mobile devices and touch are now setting the bar and expectations for what we design with the help of firms like Randy's for kiosks and wayfinding applications. And these applications traditionally were where the bar was set for the most fluid menu and the best user experience designed for software and navigation. But today, that best example exists in our pockets through the various mobile devices and all of the innovations from that industry. And so I feel that here it's been fascinating to watch the same levels of quality of resolution and touch and ergonomics now expanded to these large scales, and to be put into a format that we can specify into projects as part of larger integrated systems.
Yeah. Pete, anything?
Yeah, no, I agree that seeing high resolution and brightness, and particularly higher contrast displays, it takes the experience of commercial AV and makes it, what people always say is, how come the AV installed in this room doesn't look as good as the display in my home? And I think that's changing, definitely. So.
Randy?
Well, our host, we're blessed that NEC covers the spectrum from projection, so you're seeing a lot of paintscaping, a lot of shaping with projection. You're seeing a lot of twist and warp and that kind of stuff. They have flat panels ranging from 46 up to 85 inch on display here. And exciting is that they're now morphing over into the ultra high resolution direct view LED. So they have a pixel range from 8mm down to 2.5. and it's inevitable. You're seeing it through all the display manufacturers, so you get to see it. But what they do here that I like is they're showing it in applications. They're showing it in, as Rob said, in digital signage applications. They're showing it in transportation, digital signage, wayfinders, flight information display. So they're applying it. So that's good for customers to come and see and experience.
That's a really good point, if I may. It's not all coming from the consumer electronics industry, as I pointed out. Our designs, from themed entertainment to targeted retail applications for these displays that have to be warped onto oblong objects or projected from weird angles, the technologies that make that possible are not in our pockets. These are real engineered solutions for our market specifically. Everything from Christie Twist to NEC's large apple up there with the multi-projection.
That is a while to understand what the apple was. It's an apple, and we're in the big apple. That didn't at first occur to me.
I only saw the projectors. I didn't think of the metaphor, but yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
And make a little plug here. You're seeing a lot of architecturally integrated displays. That's, consultants serve the purpose of being integrated, built in.
Okay.
Now. The trend I'm starting to see in the industry is displays are going from being on the wall to in the wall.
Okay.
Everything's becoming hidden, and therefore it's really important to have consultants involved with architects. And secondly, and again you see it here, a lot of content-rich stuff. Content is really becoming even more dynamic to get your message across.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, both of you two are involved in Microsoft here in New York in different ways. Is that right? One of you?
Not me. No, those two.
Oh, those two. You two. You did the retail store and you did the head office.
I did the retail. He did
I
the
got it
head
all
office.
wrong. So I got all three rings wrong. Okay. Tell us about the Microsoft retail store.
Well, this is before my time at TAD, but I actually competed for this work when I was at Shen, Milsom, and Wilke, and it was fascinating to be interviewing with a client consisting of end users who themselves know arguably better than the consulting and design community what the display and themed kiosk applications should be for their own retail store. And it was very difficult as a traditional consultant specializing in infrastructure and systems design to wow them and show a differentiation that would win the project in terms of content creation and in terms of creative applications. And that's a very good example of a client that gives that challenge to us. Microsoft, I think, as evidenced in their retail stores and the displays and the look and feel and fit and finish of
there.
Is
it just one? I mean, I've been in the big retail store here. Are there lots of them across North America, or lots of them across?
They have 113 done. They only have 2 flagships in the world, and the one's here in New York on 5th.
Okay, that's the one I've been to.
It has 330 46-inch panels with our mounting solution, and then it has 2.5 millimeter direct view LED, and then their other flagship is in Sydney, Australia. Very content rich again. The guys who do the content there are Signage Media, and they're very gifted at doing some creative stuff. And the panels currently, Microsoft's using NEC panels.
Okay. How do you win business like that in your world? How does it come to you because you're well known as a designer, or does it come to you because you're well known, or?
It depends on the client. It depends on the prospect. Okay. Often traditionally the clients are architects, and it's word of mouth and relationship.
Okay.
And it can be said that many of my most exciting projects in my many years of history doing this amounted to riding the coattails of prestigious architects working on phenomenal projects, and we get to introduce a small portion of innovation into a much larger scope of work.
Right.
Projects like in the Middle East, large campuses and American universities here.
You, Peter?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Architects?
Well,
do you all take architects out for drinks and canapes and cocktails all the time?
Later on this evening, yes.
Yeah.
But there's that other side of it as well, if I may, which is the pursuit of end users directly, which requires something yet different. Requires much more than just knowledge of infrastructure and the plumbing of the systems that amounts to really being a short order cook. It requires more of a gourmet chef perspective that firms like ours provide. It requires that we have a content division that can contribute to the artistic side and the actual graphics themselves being put onto the displays. It may require that we have customization and product design under our roof, and we can use the help of firms like Randy's to produce fit and finish that does that.
Big clients like Microsoft?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've worked for a number of very large organizations over my nearly 30 years now in New York, and before that in the rest of the world. But what I found consistently true is to basically treat every client the way that you like to be treated yourself, and to actually deliver.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, because that's how we get repeat business, and that's, always be thinking about, basically taking care of people and meeting their business requirements. The products that we design and specify are not an end in themselves.
No.
They're there
Continual.
for a specific purpose, and they're there for a business purpose.
Right.
So you need to understand why people need our services.
That's interesting. So I do a lot of work in digital signage and digital out of home. And one of the biggest criticisms from some of the major players in the space is that if you look at something on a billboard, the advertising agency puts that together to win an award. They don't do it. I'm going to get beaten up when people watch this and that word, but that's what they do. They want to win an advertising award for the best billboard campaign. They don't really think about what it's doing for the client. You've maybe not surprised me, because I don't know that much about your world, but you've come from a very nice angle, from wanting to deliver what the client needs.
Yeah, that's only ever been the motivation, is to meet the client's needs. We don't get awards so much in our industry, do we?
Yeah, no, we don't get awards. We don't even get invited to the ribbon cutting most of the time.
If there was Clio for AV, maybe,
But it must be nice when you walk past the Microsoft stores and you think, I had something to do with
That's the award. And you can do this on Fifth Avenue and see the Apple store and the Microsoft store.
And the head office you were involved in as well?
We've done a lot of the rear projection mounts for their briefing center up in Seattle, but that's completely unrelated to the retail group.
Okay.
Like the way these larger companies, the Googles, Nike, Burberry, the retail division is very usually different than the actual head office. And most of the head offices, you do see the likes of Tad and Shen working.
There seems to be a belief, I'm not going to say globally, but certainly in the UK, certainly in Europe, I think a little bit in America, that retail is on its, is on a downward thing. Does that affect you? First of all, do you see that, or is there a change? Because we always read about big flagship stores. I mean, is there a balance somewhere that normal retail's dying and flagship stores
I
are
only
growing?
know what I read and what I perceive as a consumer in answer to your question, which is that I see these tremendous flagship storefronts, especially in cities like New York, as a response to the increasing prevalence of online retail.
Okay.
Because the only ever interaction with these major brands is online in terms of the purchase, there needs to be that much more showmanship applied to a physical storefront, and we get to reap the rewards of that in designing beautiful display systems.
So that helps your business?
That's my consumer perspective, and yes, it does help our business.
Picking up on what Rob was saying, when Microsoft embarked on retail, they hired 200 people from the #1 retailer in the world, which is Walmart. Walmart's transaction-based. The stores are supposed to make money.
Right.
That's not the case anymore, like Rob's saying. It's now Amazon. And so I think a lot of the high-end retailers, Burberry being from the UK as well, they're struggling because these stores used to be profit-based outlets for transaction.
Right.
That's not the case anymore. Now they go see it, they try it, they play with it, they go back home and they buy it.
But not only do they buy the product, but the product is a value add and a selling portal for the services that the firm, that the manufacturer offers. So Microsoft is selling you their cloud-based services, just as Amazon and Google and Apple are doing, as a value add.
Okay. And you must have seen the Tesla stores. So I saw my first one of those in the UK, I think just opened up recently.
One of our biggest growth areas, one of the things we see a lot of RFPs for, is mixed use, which includes retail. So a lot of people are building developments that may have a combination of residential apartments and maybe service apartments, and shared amenities, but then on lower levels there can be a retail mall.
Right.
There might be screening rooms, there might be cinema, some other kind of entertainment venue. So I'm not sure that announcing the death of retail just now.
I wasn't announcing it, I was just saying what the paper said. It's nice to know. It's nice to know that there are clever people thinking about how you can reuse that space in a nice way. I mean, I look at the Microsoft store I like, the Tesla store I like, because I just like going in, looking and browsing. Amazon have opened a store. We had in London now, we've got a new Yahoo store which has opened up. And I know there's maybe 10 to 12 Yahoo stores around the world, but this is actually one where you can buy things. So there's a Yahoo star, I can go and buy his coffee mugs or his t-shirts or his hats or his mugs. And they're really thinking about things quite cleverly, which is nice. It's not Walmart, it's not a big box merchandiser. It's quite good. Now you do lots of work in transport as well. So how's that being affected?
Well, transportation, one of the things, and it's actually interesting because it's on your setup display here, but there used to be a very strong and a barrier between putting customer information on displays and any kind of advertising or content. And as a result of that, it was often very hard to get people to pay the premium for very high quality displays for customer information. That barrier really seems to have broken down now, and it's very common to see customer information and revenue generating content being shown
mixed
on
together.
the same display. And as a result of that, the quality and size and type of the displays in public transportation facilities is definitely getting better.
Right.
You only need to walk through, a couple of local rail termini, which for the longest time had the worst ancient signs in them, and see what they've done in the last couple of years now with signage. But it's signage that pays for itself because it alternates between customer information and revenue generation.
That's fascinating, isn't it? If you think of what airports are doing, you must have all seen the Westfield Brand Ventures site here, and the two of you live here. Any thoughts on how that works? It's not really transportation, is it? It's
taking a transportation hub that is just very symbolic, first of all, with its location and the star architect who designed the whole thing, and then actually building replacing what used to be a big retail mall that obviously disappeared on 9/11, but mixing it in with a building which serves a public purpose. And that transformation is going to go on with the transformation of Penn Station as that becomes the Farley building, and there will be a lot of signage in there that will do double duty as customer information, but also revenue. So
it's exciting times, really. Penn Station is going to be the largest underground station in the world, I think, when it's
the busiest one.
The busiest one.
It's also the one most in need of upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
So any observations on anything else you've seen around the show apart from the Big Apple?
At the show here?
Yeah.
Again, I just like seeing that they got direct view LED, some clever interactive touch stuff's being done. Everything today that most people's customers experience, they walk up to, if they touch it, if it doesn't respond, they think it's broken.
Yeah.
So
what sort of shows do you? I guess if I asked you what shows you normally go to, I would know the answer. So I won't ask that question. But Rob, what sort of shows do you normally go to?
Well, it's now homogenized into Infocom and NAB and AES. Audio Engineering Society is
AES. Where's that held?
That's New York and alternating to the West Coast and also in Europe.
Okay.
That's more of a technical show for presentation of papers in the acoustics and audio world.
Right, okay.
Much more rarefied in its interest level than Infocom, but I have to say Infocom is the big one I would assume, for all three of us.
Yeah, Infocom
too. And
I can't stand Infocom because I'm an exhibitor and I never leave my booth.
No, I know.
I go to ISE. I love that show.
Yeah.
I love ISE.
Because you're not an exhibitor at ISE.
Not an exhibitor there, and so I really enjoy that show, and it's different. I like the halls, I like the 11 halls.
Have you visited ISE?
No, I've never been to ISE.
No. Biggest show in the world for commercial AV. Plug Europe, which we're not part of anymore, but doesn't matter. So, what thoughts about Infocom? This Infocom, it's going to be in Orlando next year?
Yep.
So, and you're both looking forward to it. What do you do? Do you go in for a couple of days? Do you go in for the day? Take your kids and go to the parks? I don't know.
Unfortunately, no. We bring clients. Bring clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is absolutely the best place to be able to take clients who are trying to decide on things and show them alternate solutions.
Okay.
So,
and how will you take the clients? You seriously take a whole bunch of them?
Holding onto a string, and we run in a line.
No, seriously.
I remember a couple of years ago with Shen, when you're doing the New York Police Department job. Shen toured 20 people from the New York Police Department, which ended up being about a $12 to $13 million job, 1,100
Was it Vegas or Orlando, though?
That was actually in Orlando, which isn't the best tour, but it was Orlando. So it alternates every year right now. So, but you had 20 people there, so you see that all the time.
And you walking around?
Well, no, I mean, it's not, sometimes it's a bit haphazard, but the real benefit in my experience is arranging specific product demos and introductions to manufacturers and sales reps. And to
customers here at this show?
Tomorrow there will be.
I was just asking if any of their customers are here at this show. Like, are there architects and end users that come to the?
Tomorrow I'm going to be back, and we'll be doing a little bit of a thing, albeit on a smaller scale. But it's a great show for that reason.
Wow.
Yeah. But the opportunity to leverage the sales channels and the manufacturing support that we receive directly as consultants and to convey that directly to our clients and be able to mediate it in front of the actual product is a great experience, and we very much enjoy it.
Is there anything then, so ISE has January being the beginning of the year as its main advantage. It's grown to 65,000 people now, and I think the announcement this week was they've got even more floor space. They've built an extra hall, and they're going to build a hotel in a couple of years' time to take even more people in and things. So a lot of major announcements happened during that time. What do you look for? What will you be looking forward to in Infocom Orlando next year? Is there anything that you know now that's coming up, or is there whisper suites behind the closed curtains?
Certainly nothing that I'm allowed to say on camera at the moment, but there are definitely, yeah. But I mean, not being a manufacturer myself, I wouldn't know. Obviously, many things that are being announced, but I do know that the manufacturers do treat the Infocom show as a major milestone in their product development cycles, and that's both good and bad from what I understand speaking.
To the extent that, in turn, I use it as a milestone for specifications. If I've got to write system specs which get written later than on a project that might go on for several years, you might design the infrastructure and then write the system specs later, and I'll always make sure I'm writing the system specs after Infocom so that anything that gets changed or anything that gets discontinued at Infocom can be taken into account when those specs get written. So it's definitely a time, even if the product's actually existed for a year, it actually gets launched there, and so that it sets a calendar.
And you mentioned January, the Consumer Electronics Show also factors into that. That should be mentioned, and that's. I have, yeah. Not. I was there 2 years ago, so that's not recent at all in consumer electronics terms.
You know, my journalistic team used to go to Consumer Electronics Show every other year. We figured if we went every other year, we could keep up with what's going on. We didn't go this year? Yeah, we went this year, and I was quite disappointed. They're losing the wow factor of what there's always used to be a big release, and because it's getting bigger. And I don't know if none of you are old enough to remember CeBIT.
Vaguely.
You're all American, but CeBIT used to have 650,000 people in there, and it was a race between Intel and Motorola to be the biggest stand, and we used to go all the time, and then it just imploded. You know, CES is 130,000 people. You know, it's crazy. I mean, there's too much. There's drones everywhere.
Yeah. Trying to see the OLED in Samsung's booth this year, you can't pay me to get into that. It's just too congested.
Yeah. So they can lose a little bit. Well, this is what I think is nice about like a solution showcase here, because it is intimate. You know, we have this chance to have a conversation. You have a chance to bring your customers. You can bring lovely food, nice drink, etc. And it's small. It's what you're going to be here for a couple of hours maybe, and you're going to come back another day. So it's much better than a trade show, because you're at least not wedded to a trade show floor.
No, I like the opportunity to walk around and just chat with people and talk about technology and talk about applications without the setup. And
you went to ISE this year in January?
I went to ISE last year, and I'll probably go again this year.
Okay.
And I always tie it in usually with a vendor visit. So last year I think we went and toured Barco's facility, which was kind of interesting for me to see. Yep. But again, I like ISE because of the halls. They try to theme the halls.
They do, that's very true.
No offense to my esteemed cohorts, but there's no sense me going in the audio halls. No. And so I don't really walk in those halls, but then I spent a lot of time in the visual halls, and you know, and it's
they've
exciting.
done a good job of that. Yeah, my
and also,
done a really good
when
job.
you mentioned the attendance there, that's attendees. That's a little bit different than Infocom's numbers. Infocom counts exhibitors and manufacturers, which is important because I like to network with the NECs and the other vendors there. Yeah. But in ISE, that's attendees, so that's quite significant.
I'm fascinated that you actually plan the way you work around the shows and the announcements and things. So, well, I have to say, I've been absolutely enlightened by your industry and what you do. Really have. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to interview you again. We do a show every year at ISE with NEC. You need to come on that one as well.
Definitely.
So that would be good. So thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome. Thanks very much.
NEC.